All right, so moving forward, we're going to look at all these angle relationships that we discussed yesterday, but specifically their measures and how they're related. So first things first, we've got to look at a pair of parallel lines. Now, what that means is two lines that don't intersect ever. You can extend them out forever and they will never cross. However, in the pictures that you guys are going to be seeing, a lot of times you'll see an additional pair of arrows on these. So lines, as long as we've been dealing with them, they've always had arrows on both ends to signify that they go on forever in each direction. These extra arrows here signify that the lines are actually parallel. Now, I'm going to draw this third line in here called a transversal that we defined yesterday. But when I draw that line in, what happens is it hits the top line here at the same angle that it hits the bottom line here. So because those lines are running side by side, when that third line hits, it hits at the same angle, we get this thing called the corresponding angles postulate. Now, I realize that this is kind of small, but I wanted to kind of get everything all in one place so we could talk about it. There's four basic postulates that we've got that we're going to talk about, and they kind of go hand in hand with each other. So the first one is this corresponding angles postulate. It basically says when these when the transversal intersects these lines, it creates a pair of congruent corresponding angles. So the word congruent is basically kind of a fancy version of equals. It applies more to geometric shapes than numbers. So like you'll hear later on in the year, congruent triangles, congruent circles, congruent figures. But all in all, it really just means their measurements are equal. So corresponding angles have equal measures. And then just kind of going on down the line, we've got an alternate interior angles postulate. It basically says, hey, alternate interior angles are congruent too. So they've got equal measures. And then alternate exterior angles here, same thing. So what happens is I've got three different rules that I kind of wanted you guys to get here, that corresponding angles, alternate interior exterior angles, their measures are equal. So anytime you can find a pair of those three, you're going to get a pair of equal angles. Now, the one that's different is the consecutive interior angles. Now, like I said, I know it's kind of small, but if you look at this angle 6 here, angle 6 is this nice little acute angle down here at the bottom, but angle 5 up at the top, that obtuse angle, there's no way those are going to have equal measures. Well, the other relationship that you're going to find when you're dealing with parallel lines and angle relationships is the angles are supplementary. Supplementary just means that they add up to 180 degrees. So let's say angle 5 is 100 degrees, angle 6 is 80 degrees. If angle 5 is, 130 degrees, angle 6 has to be 50 degrees, whatever makes them 180 degrees combined. So this is the basic overall premise for the next couple of days here. You've got 6 different angle relationships. Each one of those relationships tells you something about the angle measurements. So I've kind of broken it down here into 2 different camps. If the angles are congruent, if it's one of these 4 pairs, the angle pair that you're identifying, the measures are equal. However, if it's one of these 2 pairs, if it's a linear or consecutive interior angles, those angles add up to 180 degrees. So what we're going to do is kind of run through this picture here, and I should be able to find all 8 angles. I'm going to give you this one to be 60 degrees. We're going to find the other 7. Okay, and every time I list an angle measurement, I'm going to also list one of these reasons. Why is angle 4 60 degrees? Okay, so angle 4 is 60 degrees. I need to pick one of these 4 for a reason. Okay, now we haven't done a whole lot with vertical angles, but that is the actual reason here. So it's not alternate interior, it's not alternate exterior, it's not corresponding. You can just kind of do a process of elimination thing until you get the right one. So why would angle 6 have to be 60 degrees? Okay, that's another equal pair. So I'm going to find one of these guys. Well, angle 2 and angle 6 are corresponding. Or I could have paired up 6 with angle 4 and said, oh, they're alternate interior angles. So sometimes there's more than one reason that's correct, depending on what else you found out. I'm going to go with angle 1 is 120 degrees. Okay, so angle 1's 120 degrees. Now, 120 degrees, that's not going to be out of this group of congruent measurements, so I'm going to have to pick one of these two things here. It's either a linear pair or it's a consecutive interior angle. Well, it's not a consecutive interior angle because angle 1's exterior. Again, process of elimination, I know it's got to be a linear pair. Now, I could say it's a linear pair with angle 2 or it's a linear pair with angle 4. It just kind of depends on how you look at the picture. Angle 3 is vertical angles with angle 1 or a linear pair with angle 2. Or, I mean, you see what I mean? There's more than one reason depending on the other things that you found out. I'm going to throw out the angle 5 is 120 degrees because it corresponds with angle 1. I'm going to throw out angle 7 is 120 degrees because it's vertical with angle 5. Now, if these aren't the reasons you're coming up with, that's perfectly okay. And then last but not least, just to do something different, I'm going to say angle 8 is 60 because it's alternate exterior angles with angle 2. Okay, now your homework's a little bit different because you've got only one pair to work with. So it's not like you're going to have to find 7 different angles every single time and give me a reason every single one. I'm going to give you an angle, you're going to give me an angle measurement, and then your reason, it has to be the right one because there's only the 2 angles. So there's not as much wiggle room on those.